Kodo, the great unifier, had built a legacy that spanned 7 prosperous and peaceful nations. His reign was marked by strategic alliances, cultural exchanges, and a vision that brought together diverse species under one harmonious banner. Kodo's governance was not merely political. It was a cultural renaissance that saw the flourishing of arts, sciences, and mutual respect among different communities. His ability to balance power, mediate conflicts, and promote inclusive growth was unparalleled. For years, Kodo's name was synonymous with unity and prosperity. His death, 3 years after achieving his monumental success, was a significant blow to the nations he had so meticulously nurtured. Kodo's final act was to place power in the hands of Zoe, his trusted vice president, believing that Zoe possessed the vision and capability to carry forward his legacy. Kodo's choice was met with widespread approval, as Zoe had shown promise in various administrative roles under Kodo's guidance. Kodo had left behind a set of comprehensive instructions for Zoe, detailing his philosophies, policies, and the delicate balance needed to maintain harmony among the species and cultures. These instructions were intended to be a roadmap for Zoe, guiding him through the complexities of leadership and ensuring the continued prosperity of the nations. Initially, Zoe's ascendancy to the presidency was marked by optimism and a collective sigh of relief. The people believed in Zoe, trusting in Kodo's wisdom and the thorough preparation Zoe had received. Zoe was seen as a continuation of Kodo's legacy, a leader who would safeguard the unity and peace that had been achieved. However, beneath the surface of this optimism, Zoe struggled with the weight of his new role. Kodo's shoes were immense to fill, and Zoe soon found himself overwhelmed by the sheer complexity of managing 7 nations with distinct cultures, histories, and species. Despite Kodo's detailed instructions, Zoe lacked the intrinsic leadership qualities that had made Kodo a legendary figure. Zoe's initial months in power were marked by a series of well-intentioned but poorly executed policies. His attempts to mediate conflicts were often indecisive, and his efforts to promote unity appeared superficial. Zoe's inability to command respect and authority became evident, leading to increasing dissatisfaction among the populace and the ruling elite. As months turned into years, the cracks in Zoe's leadership widened. The harmonious coexistence that Kodo had painstakingly built began to unravel. The differences between species, cultures, and histories that Kodo had skillfully harmonized now became sources of contention and conflict. Zoe's weak leadership allowed these differences to fester, leading to rising tensions and discontent. The 7 nations, once united under Kodo's visionary leadership, started to drift apart. Old rivalries resurfaced, and the spirit of cooperation was replaced by suspicion and mistrust. Trade disputes, territorial claims, and cultural clashes became common, further straining the fragile bonds that held the nations together. Zoe's inability to assert control and provide decisive leadership exacerbated the situation. His attempts to address the growing unrest were half-hearted and lacked the strategic foresight that Kodo had. As a result, the tensions escalated, leading to sporadic violence and civil unrest in various regions. The different species, each with their unique cultures and histories, began to question Zoe's competence. The harmony that Kodo had achieved was based on mutual respect and a shared vision of prosperity. Zoe, however, failed to inspire such a vision, leading to a breakdown in communication and collaboration among the species. The disintegration of the 7 nations was not an abrupt event, but a gradual process marked by increasing chaos and fragmentation. As Zoe's leadership faltered, the unity that Kodo had built began to crumble. The nations, once bound by a common purpose, now found themselves at odds with each other, driven by their unique interests and grievances. The first signs of disintegration appeared in the form of secessionist movements. Regions with distinct cultural identities and historical grievances started demanding autonomy. Zoe, unable to address these demands effectively, resorted to repressive measures that only fueled the discontent. The more Zoe tried to clamp down on dissent, the more the resistance grew, leading to widespread civil unrest. The economic prosperity that had been a hallmark of Kodo's reign began to decline. Trade routes were disrupted by internal conflicts, and the cooperative economic policies that Kodo had implemented were abandoned. The nations, now more concerned with their own survival, adopted protectionist measures, further isolating themselves from each other. Amidst this chaos, the once vibrant cultural exchanges ceased. The festivals, art exhibitions, and scholarly exchanges that had fostered mutual respect and understanding were now replaced by suspicion and hostility. Each nation retreated into its own cultural shell, viewing others as threats rather than partners. The political landscape also changed dramatically. Regional leaders, sensing Zoe's weakness, began to assert their own authority, effectively becoming de facto rulers of their territories. These leaders, driven by personal ambitions and local loyalties, further fragmented the political unity that Kodo had established. The central authority that Zoe represented became increasingly irrelevant, and the concept of a unified leadership faded. The disintegration of the nations also had a profound impact on the social fabric. Communities that had once coexisted peacefully now found themselves divided along species and cultural lines. The intermarriages and communal bonds that Kodo had encouraged were now viewed with suspicion. The sense of a shared identity and common destiny was replaced by parochialism and xenophobia. The military, which had been a symbol of unity and strength under Kodo, also suffered from the fragmentation. Soldiers who once saw themselves as protectors of a unified realm now found their loyalties divided. Regional militias emerged, each pledging allegiance to local leaders rather than the central authority. This further weakened Zoe's ability to maintain order and enforce policies. As the Seven Nations continued to disintegrate, the legacy of Kodo became a distant memory. The ideals of unity, peace, and prosperity were replaced by chaos, conflict, and poverty. The once thriving cities became battlegrounds, and the prosperous countryside turned into wastelands. The people, who had once worshipped Kodo as a unifier, now viewed his era as a golden age that had been lost forever. The disintegration was complete when the last vestiges of the unified administration collapsed. The nations, now completely independent and often hostile to each other, no longer recognized any central authority. The alliances, trade agreements, and cultural bonds that had been the foundation of Kodo's legacy were dissolved. The continent, once a beacon of unity and progress, was now a patchwork of warring states, each fighting for its own survival. In the aftermath of the disintegration, the continent entered a period of darkness and despair. The nations that had once thrived under Kodo's leadership were now mere shadows of their former selves. The sense of unity and purpose that Kodo had instilled was replaced by division and strife. The continent, once a symbol of prosperity and peace, was now plagued by poverty, conflict, and instability. Zoe, once seen as the heir to Kodo's legacy, was now viewed as the architect of its downfall. His incompetence and inability to harmonize the diverse species and cultures were blamed for the disintegration of the nations. The respect and admiration that Kodo had earned were now replaced by disdain and contempt for Zoe. The people, who had once believed in Zoe's leadership, now saw him as a weak and ineffective ruler who had squandered a great legacy. The continent's decline was not just political, but also cultural and economic. The vibrant cultural exchanges that had characterized Kodo's reign were now a thing of the past. The arts, sciences, and intellectual pursuits that had flourished under Kodo were now neglected. The once bustling marketplaces and trade routes were deserted, and the economic prosperity was replaced by scarcity and deprivation. Gorilist, once the largest and most powerful of the Seven Nations, was now a faint shadow of its former self. The grandeur and influence that it had enjoyed under Kodo were now memories of a bygone era. The people of Gorilist, who had once been proud citizens of a great nation, now struggled to survive in a fragmented and chaotic world. The disintegration also had a profound impact on the collective psyche of the people. The sense of a shared identity and common destiny that Kodo had fostered was now replaced by a sense of loss and betrayal. The people, who had once believed in the possibility of a harmonious and prosperous world, now faced a harsh reality of division and conflict. In the end, the legacy of Kodo was reduced to a distant memory, a golden age that had been lost forever. The ideals of unity, peace, and prosperity that Kodo had championed were now seen as unattainable dreams. The continent, once a beacon of hope and progress, was now a land of despair and decline. The story of Kodo, Zoe, and the disintegration of the Seven Nations serves as a powerful reminder of the fragility of unity and the importance of competent leadership. Kodo's vision and leadership had created a harmonious and prosperous world, but it was a delicate balance that required constant vigilance and skillful governance. Zoe's failure to uphold this legacy highlights the challenges of leadership and the complexities of managing diverse societies. Kodo's instructions to Zoe, though comprehensive, could not compensate for Zoe's lack of intrinsic leadership qualities. This underscores the importance of not only strategic planning, but also the ability to inspire, mediate, and lead with conviction. Leadership is not just about policies and procedures. It is about vision, charisma, and the ability to unify people towards a common goal. The disintegration of the nations also highlights the dangers of neglecting cultural and historical differences. Kodo's success was built on his ability to harmonize these differences, promoting mutual respect and understanding. Zoe's failure to do so led to rising tensions and conflicts, ultimately resulting in the fragmentation of the nations. This serves as a lesson on the importance of cultural sensitivity and the need to address underlying differences in any effort to build a cohesive society. The story of Gorilist and the other nations also reflects the broader themes of rise and fall in human history. Civilizations rise to greatness through visionary leadership and unity, but can quickly fall into decline through incompetence and division. The legacy of Kodo and the fall of the Seven Nations serve as a cautionary tale on the need for continuous effort and vigilance to maintain peace and prosperity. In conclusion, the fall of the Seven Nations after Kodo's death and Zoe's ascendancy is a tragic story of lost opportunities and the consequences of weak leadership. It serves as a powerful reminder of the importance of competent governance, cultural sensitivity, and the need for visionary leadership to maintain unity and prosperity in a diverse and complex world. The memory of Kodo's golden age, though distant, continues to inspire and teach valuable lessons for future generations.